Hello everybody, welcome back to another episode of What Is the Video series, where I take a game that I have played recently, talk about it casually, no script, just some light notes that I'll go over, and I just kind of give you guys my full thoughts and a slight review on said games. Going into this video especially, I'm going to try to avoid any and all spoilers that I can. The gameplay that you're seeing is mainly taken from the training area in the game, so you'll see different monsters that you'll see throughout the game, you'll see different abilities and stuff you can get, but I'm trying to avoid any and all major spoiler footage in the video itself. So you'll see some minor cutscenes from the beginning of the game, potentially some minor stuff from the beginning of the game, all the stuff that was available in the demo of this game, but nothing that will come from later on in the game, if that makes sense. That all being said, minor spoiler warning out of the way, let's talk about what is Final Fantasy XVI. Final Fantasy XVI is a story-driven action RPG. It is something unlike they've done in their Final Fantasy games in ever, I feel. You can look at it and you might think, oh, Final Fantasy 15 was like this. This is nothing compared to Final Fantasy 15. I should say Final Fantasy 15 is nothing compared to Final Fantasy 16. Final Fantasy 15 was a idea. It was a concept. It was poorly executed. Final Fantasy 16 builds upon those ideas and is a huge step in the right direction that they took from Final Fantasy 15. Is it perfect? No. Is any game perfect? No. But this is a big step in the right direction, in my opinion, for the Final Fantasy series. I'm going to break this video down into a few different steps. We have, obviously, I'm going to talk about the gameplay and the combat first. We'll touch lightly on the story throughout the whole thing. I'll give my overall thoughts on the story later on, and then that's going to be the video overall. I mean, that's what this game is. You got combat and you got story. What more do you want? So in this game, you play as Clive Rossfield. That is your character. That is your main character. That is your only character you play and control in this game. You control and you are Clive Rossfield for this game. He is a swordsman, he can use magic and everything of the sorts. And that's kind of where we get into the gameplay. That's the core basics of the gameplay itself. You have your magic attacks and you have your sword attacks. You want to interweave those attacks together by, and try to pull off as cool of combos as possible. As you play through the game as Clive and everything of the sorts, you get to start absorbing powers of the different icons, or, the big creatures that you've seen. The big thing that the Square Enix was really pushing for this game, where these massive set pieces of these massive battles between the icons and stuff like that. And as you fight them and as you encounter them, you absorb their powers and so on and so forth. And you can utilize their powers in your adventures and in your combat and stuff. So you have your sword attacks, your magic attacks, and you have your magic abilities. These are the abilities that you get from the different icons, and these, once you use them, they go on cooldown. So you can't just spam the fire uppercut all you want. It goes on a cooldown, so you have to wait for it to come off cooldown before you use it. So the idea is to interweave, sword attack, magic attack, and then finishing off that combo with one of these magic abilities. Sounds cool, super flashy, pretty easy to hop into. But that's the gameplay loop. That is it for the gameplay. That is all the more in-depth you can get with the gameplay. There aren't, when it comes to fighting the monsters, and we'll just talk about the creatures in general, I guess, in the game. There are creatures that have just, your base health, and you want to take them from 100 to 0. That's just how combat works, I guess. I had to say it. I mean, here we are saying it. But, and then there's some bigger creatures and bosses that have a stagger bar along with them. And the whole gameplay loop is, you get their stagger bar down to 50%, and when they hit 50%, they kind of get, they stumble a little bit. You can pull them down, knock them down on the ground, and then beat up on them for a little bit, get that stagger bar down. You want to get that stagger bar down to 0 as soon as possible, and then the enemy's completely staggered. They're laying there vulnerable, and when they're staggered, you get a multiplier to increase your damage up to 1.5 times more damage, which is pretty sick once you get to that point. And this is kind of where you want to blow all your cooldowns. This is where you want to hit your limit break. There's limit breaks in this game. This is where you want to use all of your big cooldowns and really just wallop on the enemy and make their health melt. And this is where I have issues with the combat in general, because there is no different strategy based on what you're fighting. What I just described Get stagger bar down to 0, blow up enemy health pool. Get stagger bar down to 0, blow up enemy health pool. There's no different way of doing that for every enemy, for every boss, for everyone in the fight in the game. It is the exact same fight with every enemy in the game. Sure, enemies have different attack patterns. They do different attacks and so on and so forth. But there isn't like, this is a water-based monster, so you want to use like grass type moves, or this is a fire-based monster, so you want to use water type moves. That doesn't, there's no elemental weaknesses. There's no weaknesses of any sorts in the game. There's no strategy to exploit on certain monsters to make the fight trivial and easy. It's literally the exact same fight, no matter what. Just the attack pattern and the attacks are different from the enemies, but as soon as you learn how to dodge those attacks, it's honestly, that's the only thing that is learning, is the attack patterns and the dodges. And even then, they barely hit you for anything, and you can easily survive every fight as long as you have your potions and stuff. So the combat was severely disappointing to me, and it's a shame because it was a big part of the game, but it was pretty shallow throughout the whole game, and it was unfortunate. When it comes to the different magic abilities you can do, sure, you can grab a bunch of them, you can try out different bunches of them. The game doesn't punish you for wanting to try new things. You can always refund the points that you spend to upgrade the abilities and stuff. But there is obviously clear-cut choices that are best in, single target. There's clear-cut choices that are best in AoE. But then there was choices that I chose that were just good in both AoE and single target, and I didn't find a reason to switch up the abilities that I was using throughout the whole game. Like, once I found them and I used them, there was no need for me to switch. They were best in every situation, and that really was a shame. And that's kind of on me for not experimenting more, but if it ain't broke, don't fix it, I guess. When it comes to the abilities that I have, is the mindset I had. Like, these work in all situations. I don't want to be micromanaging my skills in between every fight. Let's just work with what I have and go forward with it. So to me, the gameplay and the combat was the most disappointing part of the game. That's not to say it wasn't good. It was fun. It was awesome. It looked sick. But it was very shallow, and it became kind of stale as the game went on, because, like I said, it's the exact same gameplay loop. If you're watching this video, not just listening, you'll notice I'm fighting different creatures, but you'll also notice that it's basically the same fight, no matter each creature I'm fighting. I'm getting the stagger bar down the half, pulling them down, yada, yada, yada. So that's all I'm going to say about that. That is the low point of the game, is the combat. Now let's get into the best parts of the game. Number one, the Eikon fights. They are so damn cool. They are amazing. They look visually so good. You can tell they put their love and everything. They put a lot of their resources and their effort, as far as combat goes, into these massive boss fights between the Eikons, and just seeing everything kind of happen. It was so much fun to watch those. They were more like an interactive cutscene most of the time. I kind of wish they just made it a cutscene rather than us playing the game, I guess, which sounds weird when you're playing a video game, but they were just, they were kind of like interactive cutscenes, I guess is the best way to put it. It was hard to lose. I don't think I ever lost a fight whenever I was in an Eikon form, but I don't doubt that there's people out there that would lose to those, but it was fun. It was awesome. It was sick. And on the topic of not being able to lose, this game, Square Enix did a really good job of trying to make this game accessible to everyone, which I think is a high point for this game. I think it's a very smart thing that they did for this game. Instead of making 1,000 different difficulties to try to accommodate all kinds of different gamers, they have 2 different difficulties to start the game off with. You have your story mode and your action mode. Both are the same in terms of enemy health pools, enemy levels, yada, yada, yada. Except with story mode, they start you equipped with these accessories that make the game a lot more accessible. There's one that if you just hold down the attack button, it'll automatically execute all your combos for you. You don't have to weave the buttons in and out. It'll automatically do the super flashy combos for you. There's one that will automatically dodge for you. There's one that will automatically drink potions for you. And it's pretty cool. Obviously, it's at the sacrifice of some of the better trinkets in the game that boost your stats or everything like that. But it does make the game a lot more accessible for those who just kind of want to experience the story and not have to learn the nuances of the gameplay. and just want to hit one or two buttons and really just sit back and enjoy the story that is in the game. And that takes me to the next part of the game, is the story itself. This is an M-rated game, and Square Enix has definitely earned that rating with this game. It's not that the game, I mean, the game does have blood and violence and so on and so forth, but that's not what I feel really earns this game its M-rated rating. Obviously it helps, but it's really the dark nature, the dark tones of this game. It really does a insane job of, how do I want to put it, exploring oppression and showing just the shit that some of the people in this game go through. To set up the basis of the story, like I said, you play as Clive Rossfield, and in this game and in this world, it takes place on two continents, the continents of Storm and the continent of Ash. And there's 5 different kingdoms. They're always fighting for land and these giant crystals that are the source of the magic crystals that people can use to cast magic and stuff. But there are other people in the world. There's the dominants who can control and use the powers of the different icons and turn into the different icons throughout the game. And then there are bearers, people who can use magic without the use of crystals. They can draw from the ether, from the air, and use that magic from there. At one point during the history of this world, it was deemed that these people are less than human, and they are just tools meant to be used. So bearers are essentially slaves throughout the whole land. There's no one place where bearers are, I guess, safe. So the whole idea and premise of this game eventually comes into making a home for bears to live, to be who they want to be, and it eventually turns into, let's make this world a place where bears can be judged on not what they are, but who they are. And it really explores those dark tones on the oppression of these bears and such. A lot of people, I've seen a lot of complaining, a lot of upset people about the side quests and the amount of cutscenes and the amount of dialogue and stuff. And my question to them is, what did you think you were playing? First of all, you're playing an RPG, a JRPG, and you're worried about cutscenes and dialogue and world building, all this stuff. What did you think you were playing, first and foremost? And second of all, did you actually pay attention? Did you actually listen to what these people were saying and see the looks on their faces and the tones of their voices? Because if you did, you wouldn't be bashing these cutscenes. You wouldn't be bashing these conversations. They did so much world building with their side quests, which is what side quests are for, is to help build up the world around you, to make it feel like the world you are in is a real world. And a lot of games do fail with that. And the objectives for these side quests were trash. Don't get me wrong. It's go here, pick these flowers, go here, kill this monster, go here, yada, 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 take this to play here for me. I get that. That is boring. That part's boring. But if you actually sit there and listen to the conversations and learn about the people and understand what's happening in the world, it impacts the experience of the game so damn well. The only other game that I've seen do side quests this well is The Witcher 3. So, and those who know me know that The Witcher 3 is probably my favorite game of all time. And this game, I am praising the side quests of this game to that level, because it did feel that damn good to do those side quests, to learn about the world, to see the oppression that the bears went through. Now, this is going to be a minor spoiler for a side quest, but I just want to give an example, I guess, to really drive this home. There was a side quest that I came across where it comes across a little girl crying, and she's saying she lost her pet, and she's so worried about her pet, and yada, 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 that she was meant to play with her pet, and then she was missing. So Clive, being the nice guy he is, offers to help her find her pet. So we go, and we're like, where were we last seen? And she's like, I don't know, they may have seen her. So we go to this person. He says, oh, that little girl, we'll call her Susie. She always loses her pet. Last time I saw her pet, she was over by the windmill. So we go over by a windmill, and we find the dead body of a dominant, or not dominant, of a bearer lying on the ground. And then next thing we know, little Susie comes walking on up and says, oh, there you are, Chloe. You're always lying around. And it kind of then clicks with, obviously, you the player, and then the character Clive himself that this girl's pet was a bearer. It was a person. It was someone that she just used for her own entertainment. And yeah, it just kind of, that was one of the quests that really did kind of drive home like how oppressed these people were in the game. Like it was always apparent, and they were really driving it, like they were really pushing it and showing you. But this one was like, damn, like that. It just made me go, damn, is the best way to put it. And yeah, during that cutscene, you could hear Clive like get angry and get pissed off, but then realize that it's just a child and that she doesn't know any better, and that this is just how she's raised, and it helps just solidify his fact for his mission of what he wants to do in creating a better world for the bears and just all people in general. And that just takes me to my last point with the performance of not only Clive's voice actor, but everyone in the game. The voice acting for this game has been some of the best that I have heard in a long time. Clive Rossfield himself was voice acted by Ben Starr, and just bravo to you, sir. Bravo to you, Ben Starr. You brought a sense of life and realness to this character. I know it's a high fantasy game. I know it's a Final Fantasy game. You got magic. You got giant ass monsters battling each other, but the performance he did for this character brought a sense of realness and really grounded the character and made him relatable, to say the least. Clive's main mission is to always protect his brother in this game, and he doesn't want to lose his brother. And at one point he felt like he lost his brother in this game, and it really hit home for me when those situations were happening, and he just really just conveyed all those emotions very well as the English voice actor. I don't know how the Japanese voice actor did. I don't know Japanese, so I won't be able to tell those emotions if listening to it, but Ben Starr did a fantastic job, and the rest of the cast did a great job with the whole game as well. And I just want to praise all of them for their performance in this wonderful game. And that's all I have to really say about Final Fantasy XVI. It was an experience. It is not unlike any other Final Fantasy game that's out there. This game is probably going to be, and from what I can tell, it's very polarizing for RPG fans and Final Fantasy fans alike. It is what it is. Some people want their old school JRPGs where they have turn-based combat and a full party and so on and so forth. And I get that. There's a layer of strategy in those, and it's a little bit more relaxing. You aren't as engaged with the combat. You can, I shouldn't say aren't as engaged, but you don't have to be like super on all the time with the combat. You can sit back and think about your moves. But I think it's a good direction for the series. I think it's a good direction for the company. Do I think they'll go back to turn-based RPGs at one point? Probably. They might do another turn-based JRPG or turn-based Final Fantasy. But I like the direction they're going with their action. I just hope they do make it a little bit more in-depth. Final Fantasy 15 was a start. This is a nice step in the right direction. Now, let us have some more strategy. Let us really think about what moves we're doing and so on and so forth when we're fighting the different monsters, and give us those options to open them up. And I think this would be a great style for the series to head in. If you haven't picked up the game already, I highly suggest doing so if you're a fan of RPGs and story-driven games. If not, and if you don't think you want to play it, the whole playthrough is up here on my YouTube channel. Just check the live tab. I live streamed everything here on YouTube and to Twitch simultaneously. And if you want to get a sneak peek at what games I'm going to be covering, comment over and check out the streams. Usually do these what is videos on games that I am playing on stream. It's kind of how that works out. It's the only time I have to play games, so I do the streaming and the recording at the same time. It's just how it works. But thank you guys so much for hanging out today. Thank you guys so much for listening to my thoughts and my ramblings. If you enjoyed the video, give it a thumbs up. Subscribe to the channel if you're not already. Leave a comment down below on what your thoughts are of Final Fantasy 16 and of any games you potentially might want me to cover in the future. I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye-bye.